What's up, everybody? This video is going to be, I don't want to call it a rant, but top things that are pretty annoying or that I don't like about the Model 3, which may apply to the other models and trims as well, depending on the car. But this is just my experience over the past year of ownership. I have a 2020 model. This was produced at the end of 2019. And I'll just go in no random order, none bigger than the other, but you hear about fit and finish issues. So my trunk and one of my doors is not aligned properly. The fit and finish is kind of off. This is a lease, so I didn't have Tesla fix it. It doesn't bother me that much, but if I owned it, for sure, like, send it in, fix that. That's ridiculous. You can totally see it when you're coming up to the car, whether you're looking at the front or the side. So that's pretty annoying that that's still an issue for the 2020 models, and it probably isn't the case for most cars. You hear about the new refresh 21, everyone's saying good things, but that's just a couple of people on YouTube. Hopefully yours is good, but always make sure you're checking with them. The other items that is really top of mind is Bluetooth. They've done some Bluetooth enhancements via software, and I will tell you, and maybe this is just a main issue with when you have a spouse, so husband, wife, boyfriend, it doesn't matter. Whoever has access to your car, if you're both getting into the car at the same time or one after the other, there's always issues with the wrong person's phone being connected to the car. It's never the one, I want to play music, but it connects to her phone. She wants to play music, it's connected to my phone. Tesla did an update for priority device, so it chooses the device you set as priority. But that's not saved to the driver profile. It should be saved to whoever's driver's profile is selected, because they're the one that's driving, and it's always fighting, and it's never the right phone. And then when you try and disconnect or reconnect to the other phone, it feels like the car and both phones are fighting for like who should be connected first, and it's never great. And then the car's playing music, it says the phone's not connected, and you have to go through a bunch of crazy menus to fix it. I don't know, if you're driving by your own, this is probably not an issue, but to this date, November 2020, it's really annoying. That's one other item. Another would be on Autopilot. I find the car to brake unnecessarily late. So you'll be going and you see cars are stopped, and it may be a limitation of the cameras or the sensors to not see that far ahead, or maybe it's just personal preference. But I find that the car could be slowing down earlier, and this is something they for sure can solve in a software update. But I feel like it used to be better, and it may be with the setting how far the distance is between you and the car in front of you, that's going to determine how early it brakes. But I find sometimes you have the car braking unnecessarily late, and then you're just braking hard, and then yourself and passengers are like pushed forward a little bit, and it's like, is that really necessary? You could just brake a little bit earlier or regen a little bit earlier. So that's another item. The road noise is an interesting one. I've mentioned this in other videos, but that still, I think, should be mentioned. We need to have a lot more videos. I want to do my own comparison with the 21. There's apparently double pane glass, and who knows, and hopefully some other items they've done to the refresh Model 3. The Model Y is supposed to be quieter. The S and X are pretty quiet. But the 3s suffered from road noise, wind noise, cabin noise issues from the road. It's not about the car itself being quiet. It's about the noise that gets into the cabin, so that you don't have to have the volume of your music or your podcast or whatever you're listening to up so high to kind of drown it out, which we know there's a fine balance between playing music at a right volume that sounds good versus just making it louder to drown out other noise. Supposedly the refresh, well, not supposedly, it's been confirmed it has double pane glass for the windows right here. Not the top one, this one. But they didn't put it in the rear, so there's no double pane glass for the passenger seats, which doesn't make sense to me. It's such a small item that we're paying a lot of money for this car. Nobody's necessarily asking me. A lot of people are asking for the price to be reduced, but at least for economies of scale, why not just have the same glass all the way around? You don't have to have one installation part that you have to now order for the rear windows, a different part number, and order for the front windows. Just make it all the same. It's better for Tesla. It's better for the cabin noise. It's better for heat or cold and insulation, and it should be better for noise. I've heard one guy's, I forgot his name, he has a video out, one of the first to have the refresh, and while he didn't own a pre-refresh model with the single pane glass, he did say he didn't really notice a difference. and that's a little concerning. Hopefully others will hear it will have a difference, and that may just be subjective of what we're talking about. What road noise when you're going over bumps, uneven roads, roads that aren't new versus old, wind noise. There's other pieces, since there's no engine, we really need to see how that is. So that's just something to be aware of. Another big annoying and dislike that you'd hope that Tesla has solved, and the annoying part is probably 30% of the time it feels like, and that's a subjective guess, but more often than you'd like, the car doesn't register that you're nearby. So there's multiple opportunities. My wife's got an iPhone XS, I've got a Galaxy S20, and we'll walk up to the car and we're both standing there like idiots, just trying to open the car. And the car is locked. It doesn't recognize the phone. Whether or not that's needing Bluetooth or whatever sensors that the car is recognizing with the phone, it's just not working. We have to pull out our phone, open the Tesla app, and then the car will open. We'll have to wait some time. I can forgive, like, it's technology, stuff happens, but this really feels like 1 out of 4 or 3 out of 10 times this is happening, and it's still happening as of November 2020. And if you want to fix it, you can drop $150 on a key fob, which is annoying. It defeats the whole purpose of having your phone as the key the whole time, and you don't want to pull out the valet card to open the car. You just feel stupid, like, oh, look at my Tesla, I'm just locked out of my own car, and I just gotta wait 20 seconds till the car recognizes it, or I gotta pull out my phone. And sometimes you can't do that. You got groceries in your hands, there's other things going on, and it's silly that that's still an issue, multiple years into this process. So those are some of the main items. I will say that overall, like, none of those truly affect my decision to purchase another one. I know when this lease is up, I'm going to be getting another Tesla, but those other items are just annoyances that you should be aware of. Any other things that just feel a little nickel and dimey, like you can't open your garage even though your car has Wi-Fi. Homelink is something that used to include with the cars, but now it's a $300 upcharge. There's no floor mats if you get the standard range plus, but if you get the long range or performance models, it'll come with carpet floor mats. So that's another thing to be aware of, that you have to buy a few things after purchasing the car, because you're not going to really want to drive the car without floor mats. I would always go to Amazon. Any of these aftermarket parts, charger mats, frunk mats, trunk mats, third the price on Amazon compared to buying from Tesla directly, even though Tesla's prices actually aren't that unreasonable for their, lifestyle apparel aftermarket things. It's just a lot cheaper on Amazon. And then the last item would be service. Service is something that's going to be subjective to where you are around the country. In Arizona, I had service done a few months ago, and it was a 2-week wait. So if something happened and you need to schedule an appointment to come in or go to the service center, you're waiting at least 2 weeks. I don't know how they work with urgency items. If things are really key, you might be able to get in faster by driving to a service center directly, but it's worth calling. However, I'm also talking about email support from Tesla is pretty delayed. Like, sometimes you'll wait a few days and they won't even give you helpful information. I asked them I have a Powerwall, and I asked them some advice on it, since SRP in Arizona has terrible time of use rates. There's multiple peak times, and the app doesn't support that. So I was just asking them, what do you recommend? And after 4 days, all they said was, this is the energy support email. They're like, we don't know. We just have to call the number and ask, and then we'll tell you. And then I call the number, and they say there's nothing we can do, and there's no plans to build it because 90% of the world doesn't work the way your utility does. Which I'm surprised that it's only 90%. It may have just been like most people, because 10% is still, 700 million people. If they have double peak times, it may make sense if you're trying to transition the world to sustainable energy. Just make the app support double peak times. But it's a low priority. They'll probably never do it, which is basically what they said. It just, most people don't have that problem. So, too bad. Anything else would be, I think that's it. Those are the things that really come to mind that I think make sense to be aware of. So to recap, it's the wind and road noise, which hopefully is resolved in some of the refresh and other models. But even still, if we've got people sitting in a 2018 and a 2021 and it feels the same, then that kind of sucks. It's the Bluetooth is really annoying, but hopefully solvable in software updates. Oh, and the big one, actually, The biggest issue, I could forgive everything else, could care less if you don't fix that, is that I have a standard range plus, which is now advertised at 263 miles at 100%. Mine, 2020, was advertised at 250 miles. They used to be 240, and then through some efficiency updates, they updated it to 250. But that is only if you charge the car to 100%. I have never, not since day one, ever been able to get 250 at 100% charge. At the most, one time on a long road trip, I think it got to 246, 245. But 6 months in, about 5 or 6 months in, every month, up until the 5th or 6th month, it kept dropping. The total capacity range right now, 1 year in, and this started 6 months ago, so for the last 6 months, has been 10% left. I'm at 225, 226 at the most, and I can't reset it. It literally lost 10% capacity. That's 25 miles of range that I will never get back, that I couldn't, the efficiency I believe. So to get the 250, assuming your battery capacity is at 100%, you need the watt hours per mile at 220. I've been successfully been able to get that all the time, but the car will cap out at 226. And maybe it's just me. Maybe most cars aren't like that. So I downloaded Teslafy, did a trial, which is a third-party software that can integrate with your car and others in the fleet around you, and get battery data, charging data across thousands of vehicles. And the entire Standard Range Plus fleet at 100% capacity was at 227. And that is ridiculous because they're advertising 263 now with the same size battery. Granted, there's been other, heat pump, potentially other efficiencies done with the car, but like I've never gotten that. And it has cost me, this is the big real world implication, is that it's cost me additional charging stops needed on longer road trips. It also makes it so that at 100% charge, I'm damaging the battery because you're not supposed to charge the car really above 90%. They really recommend between 20 and 80. You'd think that at 100% now, maybe the car should just be at 90%. Like I shouldn't be damaging the car charging it to 100. But no, I have to charge it now to 90% of that. So it's like 200 mile range or less. Like it really affects the car. And it's ridiculous that that's considered within the margin of what's accepted. And when I reach out to Tesla about this, they never reply. I've reached out to them twice and there's no response. I've tweeted them. And when talking to them on the phone, they're just saying that's within the margin, what they allow. And that's totally, I think, unacceptable that this happened not years in. I follow their 20-80 rule where you leave the car state of charge between 20% and 80 to maximize the life of the battery. And I've done that, sometimes even better than that. And I still only have a max range of 226. And there'll be people that say, oh, just change it to percentage and don't worry about it. It's like, that's not the point. Around town, it doesn't matter. That's fine. I'll charge it to 80%. It really accommodates. But on long trips, that 25 miles is a big deal. And I could never get it. And so charging to, again, 80 to 90%, you're really losing a ton of range there. And I think that's just completely unacceptable to have that happen 6 months in, and then every month since I owned it, since day one, the battery just loses max capacity, and I never once ever hit the 250. So those are some things to be aware of. So when we see the new ranges, when I see 350, 353 on the new long range Model 3, I'm thinking it's maybe 325 you'll really realistically get over its length of ownership, and then from that you maybe will probably charge to 300 or high 200s. Is the reality. And that's real range that affects how frequent you need to charge and potentially adds an extra supercharger stop unnecessarily. And the fact that we know how slow Teslas charge above 80%, even above 70%, they slow down drastically. So having that higher max capacity is really important so that you have more capacity at the lower state of charge to enjoy your ride. So you only have to charge for 20, 30 minutes at a time. But instead, you just get this trickle charge at the end. I don't know. It's really annoying because that is the one piece that you have to pay so much money. It's the most expensive part of the car. And you're spending a ton of money to upgrade it. So if you go to the long range, it's 10 grand. And you're not getting the full charge. And it's just, it's kind of ridiculous. So that's another thing to keep in mind is don't really look at the max long range. No one will ever get that in their day-to-day. And if you do, you're damaging the car. And that's one of the big things that gas vehicles. Could you imagine if you're like, oh, yep, you can suddenly put, 2 gallons less gas in your car. Just always. You can't ever go beyond that. Oh, and if you ever go, not only can your capacity on your fuel tank is 2 gallons less, you need to put another 2 gallons less than that, because if you fill up the tank, it's going to hurt it's stuff that the average driver in the United States or globally is just like, that's just ridiculous. Like, why do I got to deal with this? So that's just a rant. I would still buy it again. I just think that's totally ridiculous that they advertise this crazy range and you could just never get it. I believe the efficiency. I've achieved it. The efficiency is there to get that if the battery could actually hold that charge for any length of time. So rant over. We got Bluetooth issues, road noise, battery capacity, connectivity with the phone just being locked out of the car are some of the just top really annoying issues that hopefully will just get better. So, and some support. But anyways, if you enjoyed that, feel free and subscribe. I do a lot of random videos on Tesla, mainly around Arizona and things I notice with them. But as things happen, I will be sure to update. And if there's anything you want to see and want me to cover, please leave in the comments and I will do a video. Take care, y'all.